Soul Free with Harlan Freeman, your home for sneakers and culture, starts in 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Once again, welcome back to Soul Free, a production of the Soul Free Radio Network, heard around the world on iHeartRadio, on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere that you download your podcast, all the major platforms. Before we start the show, of course, we have to thank our sponsors, Optics New York, Coney Eyewear, Hugo Boss, and of course, Porsche of Huntington. And today we've got a little bit of a theme going today. Every show we do start off Soul Free by showing a new sneaker or a new piece of street or hype gear. Today, we have a very special gift. This weekend was a special weekend over at Citi Field for the New York Mets and for our dear friend Doc Gooden. They retired his number 16. So we do have one of the hats. Eric, I'm sorry about this, brother, but we do have one of the hats that the players wore on the field with the Doc patch on it, honoring the great Dr. K, Doc Gooden. Finally, the number 16 will hang in the rafters and be retired and part of baseball immortality. So congratulations, Doc. And I think it's appropriate that we are taping this show today on Jackie Robinson Day. Great day in baseball because we've got two former baseball men here on the show. We've got Anthony Seratelli and Eric Hosmer from MoonBall Productions, and they have a brand new podcast called Diggin Deep. Guys, how you feeling today?
Feeling great. First off, love the Doc that they're putting Doc up in the rafters, showing the respect that they should with him. And
yeah.
The Mets logo to me is always going to look a little different, but with that 16 on there, it's looking real good in that hat.
Right. Eric, I got to tell you something right off the bat, man. We scrubbed that locker room. It does not smell like champagne anymore. We have cleaned it out. But,
I don't know, man. Every time I pass it on the highway there, the windows are down. I get a little whiff of it every single time.
You get a little whiff.
I'm not sure what it is.
You get a little whiff. It's funny. I had to do the deep dive into both of you. And Anthony, I got to start with you, brother. You and I are very similar people. All right.
Tell me about it.
All right. First of all, we're both born on February 27th.
Hey now, happy birthday. Love that.
Yeah. So, we both played baseball and we bowled into high school and throughout high school.
Okay.
So we've got that going. We both left the world of sports to get into creating content, which, you started with Jersey Filmmaker. And I know you did some great things underneath that. And you also played for the Omaha Storm Chasers, which is owned by Alliance Sports, a dear friend of mine, Gary Green. Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know if it's just like this New York Jersey thing. I feel like we're family already.
We got a lot going on there, man. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Jersey. Yeah, born and raised in Jersey. I did, some of the obscure sports growing up. I was big into bowling. Pretty good at it too, actually. But I didn't think that was the professional route I wanted to take. Thankfully, baseball kept going for me, and got to play a long time there. But and even played for the Mets for that year. And being a Jersey guy, I grew up a Yankee fan, and so did my family. And when I had to wear the blue and orange for that year, it was a tough transition for the fam to switch over. But we did it for one season. They proudly rocked the blue and orange, but my family are deep down Yankee fans. I don't think Chazz is gonna ever hate on the Mets at this point. He took them down. So
I know.
Yeah,
so
man.
So growing up, was it Taylor ham or was it pork roll for you?
I'm a Taylor ham guy, man. Taylor ham.
All right, sounds good.
My brother-in-law says pork roll. Honestly, I don't even know where. I think it's South Jersey says pork roll. North Jersey, it's a constant battle. But I'm a Taylor ham guy.
Right, and gravy or sauce for you on Sunday. What you do?
I'm a sauce guy too, man. I've
all
had
right,
some.
all right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we have had some Italian teammates that called it gravy, and I don't know. I think this is a big argument because somebody's gonna get on me if they hear this. But, I think a gravy is brown, but like in my mind, when I hear gravy, it's brown. When I hear sauce, it's red. So it's just the way.
Absolutely.
My head thinks. Now I hear sauce, and I think of Haz's son because that's his nickname. I got a new vision of sauce these days. Yeah.
And obviously we could dig really deep into that conversation. See what I did there? Digging deep. You see what I did? Yeah, right. And Haas, I gotta talk to you just for a second. 2015, man, you broke my heart. And it was so funny. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting around with a bunch of the guys from the '86 Mets team, and we were talking about that series, the 2015 World Series. You and your teammates, the Royals, you guys played absolutely perfect baseball. I've never seen such perfect baseball played. It's like you knew we need 5 runs to win this game. We need exactly 18 bases to get it done. Whether it was the small ball, whether it was stealing a ball, whether it was somebody balked, whatever it was, you guys just, I've never seen perfect baseball played before that series. And unfortunately, it was against these guys. But I got to tell you, and I didn't want to like you either. I didn't want to like you but then I met you briefly at the Gold Glove Awards dinner at the Plaza after that series.
Yeah.
And bro, you were the nicest guy I ever met. It hurt how nice you were.
And I appreciate that. I actually had a couple of New York and Jersey ties as well. I got some family on my dad's side that live in Jersey. My grandfather was a huge Mets fan growing up, so very cool how it ended up playing out. We played them in the World Series in 2015, but I tell you what, it was different for us because we had lost the year before in 14. We had pretty much the same group coming back in 2015, and we were just so determined, so locked in, and so focused that it wasn't like we were playing against anybody else. We just felt like if we played our brand of baseball, that we were going to be where we wanted to be. And we had such a good bullpen. It was like we almost had a formula of we knew if the game was close in the late innings or if it was tied, that we had a huge advantage because our bullpen was lights out, and we just kind of rode them out throughout the whole postseason.
Yeah, it was I'm not gonna lie, bro. It was painful. It must have been a lot of fun for you guys, but for us, it was very painful. And
if it makes you feel any better, so after the game, we went in Citi Field. They let all the family and friends come down. Anthony was on the field then. Then about 15 minutes or so, when they get on the field, the lights went off in Citi Field, went pitch black. So they didn't let us enjoy it at all. We had to get out of there.
Yeah, see, that's what we do.
Yeah,
that's what we do here. That's what we do here in Flushing.
We had to take the party somewhere else.
Absolutely. I feel like in the early 80s, the Royals, obviously, with, like some George Brett and such, Willie Wilson had a great, there was a great heritage there in the team. And I feel like you guys brought that back and brought the Royals. I feel like you brought Royals baseball back to a high level of respectability. Congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. And that was certainly the goal. And that was, when we were there in the minor leagues, we tried to get that organization back to those days where, George and Willie and the guys you just mentioned, get it back to that caliber. And, speaking of that, I watched the documentaries on the Mets teams, especially in the 80s, and guys like Keith Hernandez, a whole new level of appreciation for what he did beyond the field, seeing how he was in the clubhouse, the type of leader he was. So, being a little younger, not really getting to remember those moments live or see those moments live, to be able to watch that doc and just see what he did for that team, man, it makes all those moments I got to learn or got to meet him and talk to him that much cooler.
Yeah. And those are all great guys. This weekend got to spend the whole weekend with most of the 86 team.
That's awesome.
So it was a super special weekend up here in New York. And, I wasn't that sad that we beat the Royals 2-1 this weekend. We did take that, so that felt a little good. It still didn't get that stink of champagne out of the locker room, but we're chipping away. We're chipping away back at it.
That one's Anthony, eating at you a little bit. That's what's so fun now.
Yeah,
it's fun tough. Now of what we're being able, or what we're doing now with everything and digging deep in MoonBall. I get to have this fun interaction with fans on X. I get to have just that kind of that locker room banter that we would all have so much fun with. Obviously don't get to experience that now, not playing anymore, but sharing some of those moments and going on X and going back and forth with fans has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a lot of fun. And I know, okay, so you guys started a sports-focused production company called MoonBall Media. And through MoonBall Media, you've got a new podcast called Diggin Deep. Anthony, you want to talk about Diggin Deep a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw this to Haas too after a second, because this is kind of where this is his baby in a sense, and we really wanted to be able to hit the baseball world and stay there for us, because, that's where we come from. We come from baseball. So even though
Mm-hmm.
we're telling sports stories, we felt like our voice needed to be in the baseball space, and Haas was able to lead that up and really, drive that home and be able to bring these guys on and talk, dig deep into stories. And then, we've added the weekly show. So I'll let him take off on like why, we're so passionate about it and why he's so passionate about it. But it definitely is our centerpiece, and, where we want to drive people to hear good baseball stories and good baseball conversations. So,
yeah. And we're definitely trying to, catch baseball up in a sense in that player driven media where, football and basketball, those guys do a really good job. You get to hear some unique stories. You get to hear their perspective on certain plays that are, what us fans all remember and remember from certain World Series, championships, Super Bowls, that type of stuff. And, some of these guys, some of these athletes are different than what we all think they are. So it gives them an opportunity to, go inside their path, go inside when they had some adversity in their life and how they responded. And that's what the Diggin Deep series really is about. And now we're trying to, incorporate more on a Diggin Weekly show and just kind of give some of my insight, share some of what I'm seeing in the games. There's big plays at the side of these games in baseball, and kind of let the fan hear my perspective on what I'm seeing in that. And, I always relate back to watching football. And I know I'm not sure how people feel about him now, but early when Tony Romo started calling games for CBS, I mean, the way he would break down the game, he would give you a whole different perspective on what you're looking for. The guy goes in motion. If the defense responds, one or two things are going to happen. So to me, I think that that's where it really motivated me in the baseball space to just share that perspective with a fan, share that insight, and just cover the game on all different type of angles.
Yeah, and those, not only the insight into the game, but I think the insight into the players' minds. There's always especially with professional sports, there's always been this Wizard of Oz effect. The fans are here, the fans are in front of the curtain, and the players were like with the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. So you never, in the past, you never really got the insight into what's going on in their minds. And I love that, guys like you are doing this now. You're bringing out these inner stories. You're giving like the behind the scenes look to the average fan who usually doesn't get that. I think that's so special. And it's
I appreciate it. And even now, you look at this past weekend, there was the Padres and Dodgers had a great series. It was back and forth. It was good baseball. We had Jurickson Profar on with Fernando Tatis, and it's going to be an episode that comes out in the future here. But just to be able to highlight a guy like Jurickson Profar, and we all talk about how important he is to that team, and maybe the fan looking from the outside in doesn't understand why, and we dig a little deeper into that and understand why he's so valuable to a team like the Padres and everything that happened this past series with the Dodgers. Whether or not he was right or wrong to start something with the team, it got guys motivated in a different way.
Yep.
It brought out a different type of dog in those guys. They win the series. So, we don't know if that was the reason or not, but it's fun to talk about, and it's fun to hear that different perspective.
Yeah. So far, while you've been doing the deep dive now into broadcast and into telling these stories, have you had that moment yet where somebody's revealed something about themselves or about their personal journey that you've been like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening right now? Have you had that pinch me moment on air yet?
We had a couple. Mike Sweeney was on there, and he was great, just giving his perspective on the amateur side, the youth side of the game. We had Ron Washington that was our second episode from the Arizona series that we released, and we asked him how his relationship was with Mike Trout and how do you handle that, and he kind of stood up in front of the camera and said, I tell him I'm the big dog around here. And we were all like, ooh, that's a nice moment right there. Let's make sure we get that one clipped up. But it's been some great heartfelt stories, some stories that make you really appreciate the guy that much more because you didn't know he was battling through certain things or whatnot. But we think it's going to be real good for the fans. And right now, after the ones that we've released, the one with Ron Washington and Eric Young Sr. seems to be the one that's really hitting home for a lot of people, not only in the baseball world, but people that are in the business world and how they deal with stuff at their workplace. So that's the one that's really been getting some good reviews.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we're talking with Eric Hosmer and Anthony Seratelli about the new podcast, Diggin Deep, and it's on all the major podcast platforms.
Yes, it is. All of them.
Awesome.
And you can check it out on YouTube as well.
Cool. And now under Moonball Productions, now you guys also telling other stories as well, right?
Yeah, we have a bunch going on. Like I said, Digging Deep's kind of the centerpiece that everyone's seeing right now.
Yep.
But last weekend we announced our partnership with Cal Ripken Jr. He's going to executive produce one of our docuseries. We have a couple others in the works that we're going to announce soon. We're working on standing up a fast channel, which will have kind of alternative sports on, kind of like Major League Wiffle Ball, Women's Football Alliance, spike ball, things like that of that nature that aren't the mainstream sports. Yeah, they're fun to watch, and we're calling it big and different. And it's like we're gonna feature big names or different sports, and that'll be a really cool channel once that's up and running on hopefully all the major the fast streaming platforms that you'll find on like your smart TVs. So yeah, there's a lot of other things happening. Digging Deep again, you'll see the most, but we're gonna have other shows even on the social side. So yeah, this is just the beginning for us right now. Lots of stuff in the works that you'll be hearing from MoonBall Media.
I love it. I love it. And Eric, I got to imagine for you too, this is, the first time in a couple of years you've had a little time on your hands, in retirement. I see with a lot of guys where, guys try to leave the game and then they try to do a project like this 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And it just doesn't have that same buzz. How important was it for you to say, all right, you know what, there's not going to be any downtime, we're getting right into it? I'm still on everybody's phones from the last 2 to 3 months. It's not 2 to 3 years. How's that been, like getting guests for the show and the even just the excitement of sharing it with old teammates and friends?
Yeah, that was the best piece of advice that I had gotten from guys that had previously retired, and asking them how to go about it. And the guys all said, you have to stay in the game. You can't go away from the game for a couple years and try and come back in. It doesn't work the best like that. So for me, I wanted to stay involved in the game some type of way. And, with my son now being a year and a half old, I wanted to be able to spend some time with him as well, be home, watch him grow, and just be there with him. So, being a coach and being a part of an organization right now, you're going to be gone 8 months, 9 months out of the year. You're going to be on that schedule, that daily grind of having a game, being in a different city. So the timing with all this worked out, perfectly. It was last May. I just gotten released from Chicago. Anthony was going to come visit no matter what about the next week. So then that gave us an opportunity to really map and lay out everything we wanted to do and prepare accordingly for the following baseball season. So something that wasn't rushed by any means. We've thought out every step of the way. We've prepped every single step of the way, and we found that we figured out that now this season before spring training it was time to go. And it's fun now to be able to start putting stuff out there instead of just continuing to talk about ideas. So really enjoying it, and it makes me feel like I'm still part of the game.
I love it. So once again, it's Anthony and Eric from Diggin Deep, a new podcast from MoonBall Productions. I got to ask you guys each one more very serious question. Soul Free is your home for sneaker and street culture. So growing up, I know you guys each probably had a favorite sneaker, or that one sneaker that you just had to have, whether you had to beg your parents for it, whether you had to, get the money going on your own somehow. Let's start with Anthony. Anthony, what was the one shoe that you just had to have that was in your closet?
I mean, my go-to was simple, man. It was Air Force Ones. You just had to have those clean white. You just had to have the clean white sneaks on, man. I wasn't a big Jordan guy, to be honest with you. I wasn't a huge sneakerhead overall, but I had to have clean white sneaks, so. And that was the only thing to turn to at that. I feel like that was the main thing to turn to at that time, and maybe even still
Absolutely.
now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
there's Air Force One Uptown. Yep. Yeah. Nice classic clean white. Absolutely. Eric, what was your vibe?
I was definitely an Air Force One guy, like Anthony's saying. But for me, when the Jordan 12s came out, I think was when I was like, man, I need some of those. I need that pair of shoes. The black and red ones. I think it was the flu game. But that to me was the best Jordan shoe. That was an iconic Jordan shoe. At least for me, that was one of the first ones as a kid where I was like, man, I need this shoe, and I want to continue to build my collection off that.
Right. Now, both of you, obviously had, Major League Baseball careers in different systems and this and that. After you got that first check, after you put a little chicken in your pocket, was there one special pair that you were like, you know what? Nobody's looking. I'm going to buy these right now. Was there one special pair that either of you had
I
to
tell
cop?
you what, man, I want those Dior ones so bad, but I just can't see myself spending 20 something $1,000 on a pair of shoes. So that is the one pair of shoes that I continue to go back and forth on, and I will get them at some point, but I just don't know if I can pull the trigger on them yet. And I know that's crazy to say, but yeah, those for a pair of shoes, I mean, those are the cleanest ones to me, but last
So
time I
nice.
checked, it was about 20 something $1,000 for those pairs. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do that for a shoe.
You know what? Fat Joe, Rich the Player, up NYC, you guys are watching right now. Hook up your brother.
One time, look, you know what I mean? One time.
Come on. Look, the Royals never beat the Yankees while he was playing in the World Series. Like, I can't ask Jose Reyes to go into his closet. I can't ask David Wright. But, Bronx, you guys can do this. Hook up a nice guy, all right? And Anthony, was there one thing? Was there any shoe that you ever said, you know what?
No, man, like I said, I wasn't too much of a sneakerhead, and I didn't have as financially a rewarding career as Chazz did. Mine was much later, where I made some of my money when I went to Japan, and at that point, I was like, man, I got to save some of this money. So I wasn't trying to spend it, especially on sneakers for me. So no, I didn't have one.
All right. Well, you know what? With Chazz and his money, maybe he could each buy us like a nice, comfortable pair of sensible Hokas. While he gets his Dior ones.
Anthony's like, I think I got about 3 pair of those Hokas you're talking about at home. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time today. Anthony Seratelli, Eric Hosmer, that number will be hanging in Kansas City one day on those rafters, just like Doc here in New York. I can assure you of that. You deserve it. You deserve that. It's MoonBall Media, Diggin Deep. I love the name of the show. And, once again, thank you to our sponsors here on Soul Free, Portia of Huntington, of course, everybody at Hugo Boss, Optics Eyewear, and Tony Eyewear. And listen, you could catch us on all the major podcast platforms under Soul Free, SOLE Free. I'm the official Harlan on Instagram. Guys, what's the Instagram for the show? If our listeners want to check it out.
It's at Diggin Deep Podcast on Instagram, and at Diggin Deep Pod on X, and then on YouTube is Diggin Deep Podcast as well.
Awesome. And that's it for us. We'll see you real soon.
Later.